Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater is a remake, and we've already talked about it once on the channel before, but we've had loads of new information, snippets of gameplay, screenshots. There's even been a podcast come out, and I just want to go over exactly what I want from this remake. Now, some of these things have already been confirmed, some of these things are kind of speculated, and some of the things we're like hinting at. We may even get more news before this video goes out. I don't know. But today, in today's video, essentially, I just want to go over what I personally want, what you may want as well, aspects of the game, what I want to see changed and remain, and everything like that. I'm a huge fan of the Metal Gear series. There's a few videos on the channel now dedicated to it, and there'll be more in the future as well. And with this kind of retro remake, I really want to see a lot of things return, but also, chop some weight off here or there, make things better. So, stop the rambling, let's get straight into the jungle itself and explore with Naked Snake.
Commencing virtuous mission now.
So first off, and this is already confirmed, it is going to be a one-for-one story and gameplay retelling with the original voice cast themselves. So Konami pretty much confirmed this in visuals and via verbal communication, that the game is going to be one-for-one with cutscenes, with facial animations, with the way that the gameplay is handled, the voice cast being reused from the original audio. Even things like the guns themselves, the camo, aspects of the game. They're not trying to do a complete remake and change everything, because apart from insulting Kojima, you're going to annoy fans as well. But I personally was hoping for a bit of a RE4 remake approach where they would change some things, but I'm happy with a one-for-one. I mean, that is playing it safe, and I understand why Konami are doing this. So as we know so far, we've already seen snippets of the Virtuous mission and also snippets of later in-game. And apart from it looking beautiful, yeah, I mean, we can safely say this looks one-for-one, but we won't know until the day in question or we get a demo. Next up, another obviously confirmed one, is the modernized visuals. Obviously, what's the point of remaking or remastering a game if you're not going to improve on the biggest aspect of them all, and that's the aesthetics, the visuals, the actual graphics themselves. Which I'm happy they've actually moved away from the Fox engine, which would need probably a massive graphical overhaul. Even though it looked photorealistic, you cannot compare to Unreal Engine 5. It just looks insane. It's the most realistic game I think I've seen since The Last of Us. So I'm very happy with the visuals here. Now, as you can see, there's everything from the environment, the character models, the weapons, the way that the lighting and the hair looks. Everything just looks insane. The mud all over Snake, the bullets and rips all over his outfit and his injured body, everything, the atmosphere. Now, we know we haven't got that yellowish greenish filter by standard, but we'll talk about it a bit more later in the video, where there's actually an option to enable these. But visually, I'm hoping that we get a 60 FPS 1440p 4K experience here. It looks insane. I have just absolutely jaw-dropping visuals, and seeing that classic game be given such care and attention. I mean, the leaves dropping and kind of bouncing up when you whack the soldier down, and pushing against brush and undergrowth, and sneaking through the mud, and it just looks amazing. Snake Eater was always fantastic for the time, but Kojima did originally want to have it on the PS3, so yeah, they kind of had to step it back originally, but now, with current gen and going into next gen in the next couple of years with this Unreal Engine 5, wow, just insane levels of fidelity.
はドット絵のまま、3D の荒いグラフィックのままで出すべきだって僕は思ってます。でただ当然のことながらその若い世代のお客様がたくさん増えてきている中で 昔のゲームをそのまま出してそれでいいのかっていうのもあると思います。でそういった意味で、メタルギアに関してもそのゲームの内容とかシナリオ、あとは、キャスト声とかですね、そういったものはこれはまあ手を加えることなく、今のグラフィックの基準であるとかですね、操作性にも関しても今変わってきているので、そういった部分だけを変えて、でも、ゲームそのもののゲーム性、オリジナルスタッフの方々のクリエイティビティの部分、ここに関しては変えないっていうふうに、する、そういったシリーズもやっぱりこれは必要だろうというふうに思いました。デルタを作ったのはそういった意味ですね。
Something that I don't think has been officially confirmed, but is very much hinted at, and also that fans want, I know from first hand speaking in a few Discords and on the Reddit, is we want reworked enemies. Now, in terms of that, the biggest thing would be AI. I want a challenge. We already know their patrol routes and the alert system. We know where they're going to be and when they're going to be, what groups are going to appear when, because of the original. So I'm really hoping that the AI is smarter. It activates that caution and alert, and it really tries to find Snake, and it doesn't just give up the search after so long. You know, having that alert and being seen should have a bigger impact. And the AI of the guards themselves, just how they behave and investigate and look for Snake. Maybe they check under through logs or check in the grass, or, you know, split up into teams. I mean, I really liked how they handled it in MGS2 with the riot kind of shields and the guards coming at you there. So there's so much they could do with this with modern technology. I really hope they hone into that. Even if it's like up in the difficulty itself within the game will activate them to be kind of super aware soldiers. So yeah, that is something I personally want. I know some of the fans want. Just add that additional challenge and rework it a bit to give it that fresh approach for old fans. Now, a very simple one this is, I just want additional codec calls. Now, they have actually confirmed, yes, the original voice acting and everything is returning, but the actual actor for Zero has confirmed there is actually new codec calls and there is new dialogue. Now, we're not sure if this is to do with the control schemes kind of being, you know, mentioned in the codec calls themselves, because it's obviously going to be on PS5 and Xbox PC, or it's going to be new additional Easter eggs, you know, additional calls for new aspects of the game they're adding. This is all very much in the air at the moment, but I just hope those codec calls are expanded upon, because yes, they were brilliant and I loved listening to them all back in the day. All the paramedic ones where we talked about films after saving and singing with all the information on items and weapons, and random calls with Major and everything. Like, it was just a way to kind of interact and immerse yourself and engage with the characters. And if they've just added with the, you know, original voice actors available, to add a few more calls, because I understand I think some of them are passed away or no longer work, so you don't have to do it for everyone, but just certain ones would really add an extra level to the remake. Another simple one here, returning weapons. I want to see all those weapons we came to love or hate in the game return, and additional weapons. Maybe they can fit some new licensed guns in there, or maybe some kind of made up licensed guns. So yeah, it's a pretty simple one. I just want to see more of what we can play around with. And I did see in some of the gameplay, it appears that the way that the equipment may work will be you have one weapon on your back, one weapon in your hand, as well as having the option to have obviously the left and right kind of equipment. It's again another speculatory aspect of the remake we haven't seen a lot about yet. We have seen aspects of the UI which does look very clean and modern, but yeah, we've yet to see how the equipment and actual like native naked gameplay of the game to confirm anything to do with the inventory or equipment. But I really hope that we get some new weapons, some new items, some new gadgets to play around with, as well as fan favourites return. Now this is a big one. In the old game, we had loading screens. Now obviously this was very much because of the limitations of the PS2 and even, you know, the PS3 with the remaster and everything on the HD collection, but those loading screens allow us as gamers to kind of imagine what could be between them. it doesn't have to be large areas or small areas, but it would be very silly to add a loading screen, even for nostalgia's sake. So it gives Konami also the ability to add little extended areas, so new areas to the environment to interconnect these maps. Now, they don't have to be story driven or story important, they could just be little aspects where the player can explore, get some new items, fight some different guards, see some new secrets, Easter eggs, interact with buildings or environments, get animals, anything like that. And it's also a place they could add new codec calls, like I said, new items, new weapons, everything. Just flesh out the game and make it one interconnected space like Dead Space was. No loading screens. This is 2024. I don't think we even need that for nostalgia and one for one's sake. I really want to see more moments of gameplay that don't directly need to change the narrative. It's just extended gameplay sections, because we don't need those old school loading screens returning. And yeah, that's pretty much everything on that point. Now, an important one that some of you may disagree with me on here is I'd like to see some slightly reworked boss fights. In particular, the Ocelot fight, the Pain, and the Fury. The locations themselves, while they're interesting and they're very dynamic, the fights themselves aren't the most fun to replay. Especially Ocelot, it can be quite difficult to keep track of him, and with how it's done over a crevasse, and the shooting and the first person, everything like that, I'd just like to see them modernize it. That doesn't mean make it easier, it could be more challenging. I just want to see those fights reworked a bit to be a bit more accessible and fun. Again, the end was insane, so if they could expand that area into something more akin to Kojima's original vision of a bigger area, and it taking a longer amount of time, and flesh it out so the end can maybe climb trees or everything like that. There's so much they could do with the boss fights themselves, so I'm really excited to see if it's one for one in that respect, or whether they are actually going to change aspects of it to make it better. I also don't want to be stuck in a pool swimming around with the Pain. That was a pain. Fighting the Pain was a pain. Never liked that fight.
Please, Snake, think. There's got to be a way out of there.
I'll try.
Okay. Just let me know if you start having nightmares about Dracula.
Now, one of the biggest things I've seen fans want to return, and I do agree, is the nightmare sequence. When you're captured and in the jail cell, and you have the opportunity to talk to Johnny's grandfather, this, the typical jail cell moment of a Metal Gear game. There's a section where Snake can go to sleep, and an old nightmare sequence will appear. I think it's a demo of a cancelled game at the time. Now, I don't think that actual game is going to reappear, sadly. I think there may be license issues or whatever, or they may cut it entirely. But this is my idea, right? Konami already have a horror franchise, guys. So that nightmare sequence could feed into another game that's happening in Unreal 5 that is also, appearing in October, Silent Hill 2. Why don't we have Big Boss put into those locations? There's already assets there, there's already, the visual style. They could have Big Boss appearing in Silent Hill and him not knowing why, and the player would be in on it, but the character would not. Now, we don't have to have Pyramid Head at return, we could have other things, but use those environments and assets to make your own nightmare sequence within the Delta remake. I know it's nostalgic to have the old one, and if they have the old one, great, that's not a problem. But I think this is an opportunity to actually make something intertwined in their own universes, and yeah, I think it would be a shame to miss that opportunity. Quick one, just because of fans of MGS5, we really need the chicken hat option for players. Now, maybe it'll be the keratin frog hat for players. It might struggle if you keep dying and struggling with the game. The game could just prompt you, pop on this hat, have it as an aesthetic cosmetic piece, and it will just make it so the guards don't really pay attention to you as much, or you don't take as much damage, or you don't alert them as much. Just something for maybe players that are struggling, getting to terms with what MGS is if they're new, or modern audiences. Quotation marks there. This one is another one I've seen fans asking for, and it's more so an aesthetic and immersive choice and a lore-based choice, with having the actual soldiers and characters that are Russian have Russian accents. Now, we know they're not going to speak Russian the whole time, it's obviously translated to English, but just that little small change, if they weren't going to use the original voice actors, or they could redo the guards' voices, just having that small narrative and, you know, cosmetic change to having the accent present really could immerse you in the fact that you're actually within Russia itself. Now, recently we've also seen the fact of the camo index and the survival screen. We've actually seen aspects of this now, so we know what it looks like and we know it's returning to form and very much the same. Now, I personally wanted this completely expanded. I wanted the survival mechanics to be more like a campfire you'd put down in the game, and you'd sit there and you could, you know, pull a bullet out of your skin, you know, you could pull the leech off, you could bandage yourself there and then, you know, apply medical aid in real time, because we did get those little kind of cutscenes that would be Snake doing something on occasion, but why not have it happen in game? Don't break the immersive gameplay, because the camo screen always did that. You get to a new area, oh, I've got to swap my camo, I've got to pause the game, get the camo, adjust it, go back in. Why not have it in the inventory screen? Like, you could auto-equip certain camos to apply, or have it where you can have an option where the best fitting camo would apply for that area automatically. There's so many things they could better with that, but they don't seem to be doing that, because I think Konami are scared of going above the 1-for-1 remake. So I really would like to see the survivor and the camo have a tweak. If they are going 1-for-1, just tweak it here or there. They don't have to completely rework it, although that's what I'd want. But yeah, arguing for arguing's sakes here. Something that is important for replayability here, and maybe other game modes, because we did used to have the Ape Escape Snake versus Monkey thing. I don't think that is going to return in the Delta remake, but additional scenarios like the RE games from different point of views, like that could come out as updates or DLCs. So they had I think the survivors from RE2 remake. Why don't we have an option where you can play as Eva for a section, like sneaking through Groznygrad, or play as Sokolov before the main game starts, maybe just hiding and sneaking around, like, or a section as Ocelot. Like, there's so many things they could add as additional content for the game that I'd really like to see. Just different perspectives, maybe a thing about what the boss was doing, even if it's a silly side of things where it's just Snake going through the game, but there's aspects of the game that get rearranged or changed to make it more silly or fun for replaying. Just really build on what's already there, because in modern day you can update the game so much, you can add so much, and I'd really like to see more content to come to this remake. Another immersive one here, I really want to see wildlife in abundance. I want to see the jungle be a jungle. I want to see the canyon be a canyon. Like, we've obviously got specific animals appearing in the swamp areas, the canyons, around the buildings, in the jungle. You know, we got that in the original, but I want to see it really in abundance, like more hunting. Like, Snake has got to survive. He is on his own. He's got to eat things. So why not have like the wildlife interact with the guards, interact with Snake a bit more? Maybe the wildlife could fight at certain points. I don't know if there's mountain lions in Russia. I don't know. Add more animals. Like, this is the ultimate kind of environmental survival mission for Snake in that jungle. So there's so much more they could do with the animals and the AI and the abundance of them. You know, make them more dangerous, you know, the variety, have more effects if you eat the wrong thing. Like, there's so much more they could do, and like I said, I know it's 1-for-1, and I'm probably complaining for no reason, but I'd really like it if they just expanded upon a lot of things. Some other things, obviously, off the back of that content comment earlier. The biggest ones, demo theatre. Having the option to rewatch the cutscenes is always brilliant. I remember that in the original, the Subsistence version. But again, the option to also change the character models and mess around, so you've got the boss doing something with Sokolov or Sokolov in Groznygrad. You know, there's loads of different things you can mess around with. I'd like to see that return and give the player a bit of more fun freedom. But also, VR missions. Let's see VR missions return, but in the form of Naked Snake or Big Boss. And again, they don't have to be VR based, but you know, little missions where little side missions can happen, or training missions, especially for new players. It might ease them into the controls and the setting and what the game is. And lastly, off the back of this, a new version of Metal Gear Online. Now there's been hints that it may appear in Volume 2 of the Master Collection, but with the engine in Unreal and the game, and MGO being, I think the original was in Metal Gear Solid 3, have that return in full glory, new graphics, really strategic, fun gameplay. Give us more to do in this remake than just the story. It would really expand and build upon the Metal Gear franchise, and you'd get returning players, and Konami would easily make some, you know, money if they added very minimal microtransactions or some kind of Metal Gear Pass. I don't really want to encourage that, but again, I want more Metal Gear games, as long as it's not intrusive and the online is free itself. You know, go ham on it. As long as we can, you know, unlock things naturally and play the game for free. I just think there's so much more they could do with this remake, and I really hope we see more. Another one that was actually confirmed was the battle scars and the wearing of camo outfits and how they get damaged. So recently in the podcast, they mentioned how if you're shot or got a cut or break your arm or anything like that, you will have permanent visible damage on the naked top half of Snake when you're actually playing the game. So everyone's story will be slightly different, and he'll be scarred and injured in different ways. And the camo for the outfits, while you're wearing them, will start to get ripped and torn and kind of threaded and look damaged, which is all, again, visual immersive levels of gameplay that the original never had, but they can do with current technology. And yeah, this is just a very small amount of things I'd love to see in the Delta remake. I've probably missed loads of things that could be added. People will probably agree or disagree here, but I know it's a one-for-one remake, and I'm so excited we're actually getting a remake, but there's so much I'd like to see, so much potential, so many additions, so many actual good changes. The only thing they don't need to change is the story. That core gameplay was great, just to expand upon that, and I really hope you've enjoyed the video. Let me know down below if you've got to the end. Comment lali lulilo, first of all, and let me know what one thing you would love to see changed, what one addition you'd love to see in the remake. I'd really appreciate everyone's comment, and never know, there might be a part 2 to this video. But thanks anyway for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.
Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater has defined itself as one of the most influential and impactful video games of all time. With Delta, fans can expect an unbelievably detailed update to this classic. Both newcomers and longtime players alike can experience this masterpiece like never before. This is the definitive, once-in-a-generation remake you don't want to miss.